Vine was a backer, a bold, corrupt, and evil minded person. As long as she got what she wanted, she didn't care what way she chose to get it. Something hit her head, and she took off her earphones and looked at the person. He was done. He was simply done. The boys in her class were messing around, and accidentally paper ball hit her. It was a small thing, yet she was not the kind of person to let it go. She stood up. Everyone got quiet, knowing it was better not to mess with her. Marco, it was a mistake, yeah? I'm sorry. Wine, too bad for you. I don't accept sorries. She walked up to the group, held Marco's arm, tangled his leg against his, twisted it, and flipped the guy, throwing him to the ground. He groaned, and Wine let him go, walking back to her seat and settled down, putting on her earphones again. No one messed with her again. The class started, and everyone settled down. She, however, was serious about her studies. She cared about her old father, and he cared about her grades. She would ace every subject, except from physics. No matter how much she tries, she is unable to understand it, and that's where her professor comes in the frame. Slick black hair, glasses perched up his nose, tailored pants, and button up shirts, veiny hands, and sharp jaw. John Jungkook, the physics professor, he should have been a model instead of working in a boring school. During the whole class, he was focused on physics and girls were focused on him. He was serious about his work. So only when the class ended, he eyed Ryan. Those eyes told her their meaning. They were calling for her. Once again, Ryan was a backer, a bold, corrupt, and evil minded person. But there was one person who could tame her, the person who was calling for her. She took her things and went straight to his office after a minute. It was a daily thing. After the class, she would follow him to his office, lock the door, and get on his lap. He would kiss the life out of her, and in return, she would get her personal tuition from him in physics. She walked up to him. He removed his glasses and wrapped his veiny hands around her waist, pulling her up to his muscular thighs. His lips finding hers immediately like a starving man, and she replied to his hunger with the same energy. It was something Wine came up with. She was corrupted, but he was not. When she first came to his office and asked for personal tuition, he refused. Whatever questions you have, you can find me in my free hours, and I'll help you with them. That's what he told her. She tried to seduce him, and it failed too. Under until she barged in his space and kissed him. He was not the kind of person to be seduced like this, or fall for such tricks. Normally, he would have threw her away, but he couldn't. Those lips, that taste of her, it drove him crazy. Such an innocent person was seduced, and since then, he couldn't get enough of it. At first, he tried to convince himself. She was a student and he was a professor, but when he couldn't refrain, he gave in to his desires. Jungkook groaned in between the kiss, although innocent. He was still a dominant and authoritative person. His hold was quite strong and his fingers burned into her skin. She drove him mad. Every move of her drove him crazy. He took all his time getting his fair share of today before they pulled back and allowed her to breathe. She was corrupt minded, but it was going to fix her. He had promised himself that. Jungkook, let's get to work, shall we? She nodded, but not before he kissed her neck. It all started off as a deal. She had no feelings for him, but slowly and gradually she was becoming possessive of him. Every time girls would cry over him or even look at him, she would get quite mad. Wine makes me want to leave a hickey here. Will look so beautiful when you walk around the streets announcing you're claimed. She traced her nail against his neck. Jungkook, claimed? Am I? Vine's eyes turned slightly dark, and she was brought back to reality. Jungkook, if you can't succeed in other things, will you choose the same way? Vine, I will. I would, but not anymore. Jungkook, may I know the change of mind? Vine, I don't know. I don't want to be kissed or touched by someone else. Jungkook, and you're okay with getting touched and kissed by me? She stayed quiet and it was a silent yes. Jungkook held onto her hair and pecked her lips once. They shifted position. She turned towards the table, staying in his lap, and taught her a few things, a few numericals. It continued for 45 minutes. When they were done, Wine tried to get up, but his arm was wrapped around her. He didn't let go. Wine, what is it? Do you want more? Jungkook, stay. He said quietly, closing his eyes and moved his face in the crook of her neck. Wine closed her eyes. Why would he make it hard for her? She was living her life without any fear, without feeling any guilt for anything. Then why? Why was he changing her? She didn't want to cheat anymore. She didn't want to betray anyone anymore. She didn't want to hit anyone anymore. She started hesitating. She started being good. Little things like helping an elder cross a road and sharing money with a homeless kid, that was not her style. Jungkook, be mine. He whispered, 3 minutes. She couldn't move herself from that spot for 3 minutes before she undid his arm and ran out of his office. She ran away too far before she stopped, placed a hand on her heart, and breathed out loudly. Why? Why was her heart giving this reaction? Why was her heart going crazy? She didn't love him. She didn't. Right? She went home on her time, met her father at dinner, and stepped out to the nearest convenience store at night, hood covering her head and hands inside her pockets. It was all because of Jungkook. She couldn't sleep. She couldn't rest. Her mind was super active. Be mine. Be mine. Be mine. It was beating in her head like a tape on a loop. She picked up 2 cups of ramen and stopped hearing a voice. The same voice that was stuck in her head. She heard it again and instantly rushed towards the source. But then she heard a voice of a lady laughing at whatever he said. When she turned an aisle, she saw him. For the first time, he was not in his usual tailored pants and that hot button up shirt. He wore cargo pants and loose oversized shirt. He looked like a high school student. A perfect boyfriend material. She bet he was the heartthrob of his school in his time. There was a woman beside him. They seemed close, joking and laughing around. Shopping together. She hated it. It made her so possessive and angry. She could put the whole store on fire in that moment. Jungkook, why? He called out. You know her? The woman asked. Wine marched up to him, grabbed his hand, and looked at the woman with eyes spitting fire. Wine, of course, he knows his girlfriend. With that, she dragged him out of the store. Jungkook followed quietly. Wine, what are you doing here at this hour? Who is she? Jungkook, what's with that girlfriend thing? Wine, answer me first. She balled her fists. Oh, she was angry, but she still wanted to let him exclaim. It could be someone else, and it took her so much time to convince herself. Jungkook, Lily, my friend's girlfriend. She looked back inside the store. Another man appeared beside Lily and kissed her before they continued their shopping. Vine's anger calmed down, but another emotion hit her. Why? Why did she get so worked up? It never happened before. Jungkook, now, answer me. What's with that girlfriend thing? Vine, it was an answer for your proposal in your office. Jungkook couldn't believe what he was witnessing in that moment. Blush appearing on her cheeks. That was one unreal sight to exist. Jungkook, you can't step out of it whenever you want. Wine, I'm not a kid. I'm not accepting this for time pass. I know what a relationship is. I will fulfill it. I'll respect it. Respect us. I can't see you with someone else. My heart has started to beat for you. Jungkook was about to take a step forward. Wine gasped and ran towards a cat, helping her set free as it got itself tangled in some wires. She pet it and stayed with it until it felt easy and comfortable enough to walk its way. The wine he saw the first day and the wine of today were too different. From that evil and heartless person, she had started to care for things. She started to mean her words. They were not for her benefit only anymore. She would respect them. Although she was still under the evil mind, but Jungkook knew he could handle her. He knew he loved this girl, the way she was, and he was going to protect her if she got in any trouble. He was such a corner for her. Vine, so, are you not going to say anything? She joined her hands together behind her and avoided eye contact. He couldn't believe he lived to see a day where she would blush and become all shy. Jungkook walked up to her and took her in his embrace. It was the first time they held each other softly, with warmth. The kiss he left on her head was nothing but filled with love. Wine, I hated it. At first, I never cared about others and did only what benefited me, no matter how much harm it brought someone else. You were making me hesitate. But then, I started loving, taking care of others. I'm not that good yet and don't expect too much from me. Jungkook, you're good where you are, and you'll be good wherever life takes you. I want you to know that, no matter what your destination will be, you'll always find me beside you, holding your hand. She smiled and snuggled in his chest. It was nice, a whole new feeling, but it felt so nice. She knew she would never get enough of it. She was in love with this feeling and with this man, and in that moment, everything felt perfect.